Hello again, music fans. I am back here to do another metal genre spotlight. This time on that most complex of genres. You know, the one that is intricate yet heavy, prog metal, which is of course the combination of progressive rock and heavy metal. Okay, and it's been around, for a long time. In fact, since the very beginning of heavy metal itself. Let me just get these CDs in order so I can pull them out to one at a time. All right, so of course, prog metal does have a distinct starting point, and that would be with Rush, of course. Now, Rush is not a heavy metal band; they are much more on the rock side, and they are of course a progressive rock band, perhaps the best ever. But they did dabble in metal, with a lot of their songs, their early material, and some of their latter day stuff, really getting and having that metal sheen to it. And I'm going to spotlight an album that is not talked about a lot, but it's very good. Especially, it has come to, because I recently, in these recent years, have really grown to appreciate Counterparts, which was kind of like the Return to Form album, where they got laid off the synthesizers a bit and went a bit heavier. Really rocking album, this one. Okay, Counterparts. I really recommended this one if you haven't heard it in a while. Okay. Of course, the entire Rush catalog is not to be missed. When we have to talk about progressive metal, there's a band that we have to talk about, and that's, of course, Dream Theater. I'm going to spotlight here Train of Thought, which is their most metal album, in my and many others' opinion. Really good. And the tracks here, As I Am, This Dying Soul, Endless Sacrifice, all great stuff. Dream Theater. And of course, also, you can't go wrong with all of the early Dream Theater stuff. The latter day stuff does take some listening, because it did get much more complex, in my opinion. I just recently heard the track from their upcoming album. As of the making of this video, it hasn't come out yet, and I did have to listen to it quite a few times before I actually got what was going on. After Dream Theater, the most talked about name in prog metal is Queensryche. Okay, and I'm going to spotlight this one, which again kind of doesn't get talked about as much. Rage for Order, which I think is where they really started to show those little progressive tendencies that would come to light in Operation Mindcrime, which is a total classic, of course, and Empire, much more in Mindcrime. But right here, Surgical Strike, Chemical Youth, Screaming in Digital, all songs kind of with that don't exactly fit into the classic metal mold, especially what was back then in the early 80s. Okay, really good stuff here. Let's go now with a band that is often compared to Queensryche, and that would be Fate's Warning. Okay, I'm showcasing here this one, which is Inside Out, Outside Looking In, Inward Bound, Face the Fear. Great stuff. Intricate melodies, intricate passages, but without losing the heaviness. I really have to get more Fate's Warning. Let's get more modern now here with a band that came out in 2019 or 2018, and that would be the Sons of Apollo. Here, the supergroup formed here by Mike Portnoy, Billy Sheehan, Jeff Scott Soto, and I forget the keyboardist. Let me just take out the booklet. Keyboardist, of course, Derek Sherinian, who was also in Dream Theater with Portnoy. All right, this is the kind of like the heavier version of Liquid Tension Experiment. All right, but this is completely a metal band, really a hard rockin' stuff here with lyrics, unlike Liquid Tension Experiment, which is an instrumental band. Okay, and I'm going to spotlight both of their albums because they only have two. So it's this one, self-titled. Excuse me, not self-titled. It is Psychotic Symphony and 2020. Really consistent on both counts. Highly recommended. Now, a band that could be called just progressive rock, but they definitely have that metal feel. They certainly have some heavy riffing in their albums, especially their early stuff. And I'm going to showcase this one. It's Riverside, the band. The album is Wasteland. Okay, so like for instance, the first track, The Day After, starts off really, really slow, almost Pink Floyd-ish, but then it has a really heavy riff, which is something that you can say about many of the tracks here. Long tracks, The Struggle for Survival, 9 minutes and 32 seconds, so it's very prog. Riverside. From Poland, I believe. Now let's check out two bands from my own country, from Mexico. The first one being Agora, right here. Really great, in the style of Queensryche type of progressive metal. This album is Regresa al Vértigo. Return to the Vertigo. Right there. Agora. They just recently put out a new album, and I showcased it in my last update video. Okay, now a band also from Mexico and from my region of Mexico, here in the north of Mexico. It is the band that I am wearing this t-shirt of, Lost Nebula. Here, this I got when I went to see them live. The one and only time I've seen them live, because then COVID hit. Okay, the Black Swan event. This is an EP, and as you can see, it's signed by the band right there. Really great. A lot of Dream Theater influences here. They're very young bands. They still have their influences on their sleeve. But really good stuff. Check them out on Bandcamp or Spotify. Now a band that I really have to get more into, which is Opeth. Everybody keeps recommending them. This one is really proggy, really weird, really all over the place. And sung in Swedish, to boot. So they do have an English version of this album. And I'm not even going to try to pronounce the title of the album. But right there, see, I'm going to put it, of course, down here. Okay. God damn it, that glare. Now to showcase a band that has that had in their discography like a very prog rock period. That would be Mastodon. Okay. So here we have Blood Mountain and Crack the Sky, which I believe are their proggiest albums here. And both of them are fantastic. You could also throw in here Leviathan, okay, the one about Moby Dick. But I think both of these are more on that prog metal side, right? A lot of intricate passages. Even there's a DVD here included that details the making of these albums, and even they say that they were going for that prog metal sound. All right, super heavy nonetheless, as Mastodon is. Now a band that has kind of morphed into a progressive metal band, and that would be Amorphis. Of course, they started out as a death metal band, and then incorporated folk elements, and then more the progressive elements. So now they have like a mishmash of all those three elements here, which I really like. This is their latest, as of the making of this video, Queen of Time. Another band that is, I'm not going to say they're completely prog metal, they're definitely a power metal band, but it's worth mentioning that KAMELOT has a lot of progressive metal elements in their music, okay, especially in this one, The Shadow Theory. Great stuff. Some symphonic metal elements there. A vinyl that I will show from this band, which is a prog metal band, Pagan's Mind. Okay, Heavenly Ecstasy, great cover right there. This is a 2 LP set on red vinyl. Let's just take it out. Well, more orange vinyl, even though it says, I believe, well, it says colored vinyl right here on the sticker. Okay. There you go. Pagan's Mind. Very great vocals, intricate passages. You know, really a combination of power metal and prog metal, but more on the prog side. All right. Really cool stuff. I'd like to now showcase this progressive metal band from England. They are a trio who perform only instrumental music here in there. They only have 2 albums. The first one is called Chronicle 1, The Truth Seeker. And it is all instrumental music, as I said, with only one slight passage with lyrics, right? But it's only like a couple of lines. And their second one is an EP called Chronicle Prologue, which came out in 2021. Okay, so both of these albums together are concept albums and tell a story. Okay, in an instrumental fashion, you know, with titles like A Journey Through the Twilight Desert, Feast at Half Light City, Trial by Combat, you know, Beyond this Black Horizon. Those titles are just very evocative of this tale that this band is trying to tell. Now, this is very like a soundtrack type of metal, you know, very doomy in parts, but also it really draws you in, I found. You know, very, shall we say, enveloping music, and I really like it. Like I said, progressive rock, progressive metal from England, Mountain Caller. And last but certainly not least, a band that is not a prog metal band, but has had also in latter years, especially since this album that I'm going to show, a lot of prog metal elements. That's Iron Maiden. Okay, they are not. I don't consider them a prog metal band, though many fans kind of do nowadays, you know, because they have really gone into experimental song structures in their latter day albums, which I love. Okay, but they started doing that here. Well, they started doing it ever since the first album, you know, having, you know, those really cool arrangements. But here is when they really got proggy. Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, of course, a total classic that has had greater appreciation in these latter years. Okay, Seventh Son was Seventh Son. Well, there you go. A spotlight on progressive metal, a genre that I'm kind of, you know, I really like that genre. I want to get more into it, and I really appreciate when bands, even if they're not prog metal bands, you know, they kind of, when they do stretch their musical boundaries a bit and incorporate either other instruments or maybe other song structures. All right. Thank you very much for watching, and keep rocking.